Hi, this is Euphoria, the digital reader. Earlier this year, I reviewed the Boox page, and that experience completely changed my outlook on Android e-ink devices. Before trying it, I didn't think highly of Android-based e-readers, but the Boox page really surprised me. It had a great screen, solid performance, and the battery life was far better than I expected. The experience was a little more hands-on than a traditional proprietary e-reader, but once I customized everything, it became a device I genuinely enjoyed using. Because of that, another device I've been curious about, the Meebook M8, finally became something I wanted to test. The only reason I avoided it before was my earlier bias against Android e-ink readers, but after using the Boox page, that hesitation faded. I picked up the Meebook M8 for a few reasons. Even though I like the Boox page, I've gotten used to reading on larger 7.8-inch e-ink devices, especially the Pocketbook InkPad series. When I'm out and about, my daily carry and honestly my favorite device is still the Pocketbook Lux 4 Basic. It's light, compact, and has a great battery life. But when I'm relaxing or traveling and want a more immersive reading experience, a 7.8-inch screen is the perfect size. It feels close to a full printed page without being bulky, and since I have larger hands, the size works well for me. So with all that in mind, I finally bought the Meebook M8. This review will be broken down into two parts. In this video, I'll do the specs and a first look overview. Then I'll set it up and use it as my main reading device for about a month. During that time, I'll do a battery test, I'll read 3 to 5 books, I'll try a mix of apps, Pocketbook Reader, Kindle, Barnes & Nobles, and the built-in Z-Reader, so I can get a good sense of how the device performs across different platforms. I still have a handful of Barnes & Noble's books stuck in their app, and I haven't read those yet, so this might finally be the time where I can clear those out. After the month of testing, I'll come back with my part 2. My overall thoughts, the pros and cons, and anything that stood out good or bad while using it as a daily driver. One quick note. While filming the setup process, I kept the camera running, so you'll see a few cuts where I tapped the wrong thing or paused to figure something out. Those edits are just to keep the walkthrough clean and useful. Right now, the Meebook M8 sells for about $250 on Amazon, which puts it in the same price range as the Boox Go 7. The main difference is screen size. The Go 7 is a 7-inch device, while the Meebook M8 is 7.8 inches. Alright, let's take a look at the Meebook M8 specs. It's a 7.8-inch e-ink Carta HD e-paper display, resolution of 300 ppi with 256 levels of grayscale, front light system with white and amber LED lights, a capacitive digitizer layer, octa-core 2.2 gigahertz processor, 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of internal storage, has a SD card slot where you can put up to a 1 terabyte SD card, 2 microphones, dual speakers, Bluetooth 5.2, it's a USB-C port, so no micro USB, 3200 mAh battery, Wi-Fi 6, dimensions are about 7.5 by 5.5, and it weighs about a half pound. Has Android 14, and it has the Google Play Store installed. So let's take a look at the device. Now the screen, on first look, the screen looks a little dark. I guess I'm spoiled because my Pocketbook devices have really great screens, and they are definitely lighter than this. I even think my my Kindle Paperwhite, my 2021, I think the screen is actually a little bit lighter than this, definitely sharper. But I'll show a comparison of the 3 side by side so you can kind of judge for yourself. Hopefully my lighting's not too bad, but you can kind of judge for yourself. I feel like the difference can be minor, but when you're reading for hours on end, that difference builds up and builds up. So let me go ahead and turn it on. I'm going to turn it on, and then I'll put a clock up in the corner so you can see how long it takes for the device to power up. So it didn't feel like it took too long. It felt like it was within, basically, I kind of have a 30-second limit that I feel like if a device takes less than 30 seconds to power up, then I'll generally power it all the way off when I'm not using it. If it takes more than 30 seconds, then I'll usually just leave it in a standby mode. So this is the home screen. This is a calendar, a little daily saying, the books that are in your library section of the device, notes that you've taken, and this is the most recent apps that you've used. The library section is right here. They give you some pre-installed books. I did add one book, which was First Blood by David Morrell. You can add books a couple ways. You can either put on an SD card and put it in and watch it, look at it that way. When you put books on the device through the SD card, or if you connect it to your computer, you need to make sure you put it in a books folder. In the books folder, this is hardwired to read that folder. At least that's what I read online. Once again, no real good documentation on this. But if you put it in the books folder, then it'll see it and it'll show up on your library page. They do have a Wi-Fi transfer, and the Wi-Fi transfer actually is pretty cool because what you can do is I'll show you the Wi-Fi transfer real quick. So the way the Wi-Fi transfer app works is you tap on the Wi-Fi transfer app and it gives you a website or QR code that you can use, and it'll pull up a site where you can attach and download books. So this has to be open, and now I'm going to go to my computer and get a book. And I should note, each time you use the site, the website address on the Wi-Fi transfer app may change. It's dynamic. So you can't save it as a link or site on your computer. You will have to update it each time you use it, which is a pain, but usually the change isn't a huge change. So it used to be 6.1, now it's 5.6. Boom, good to go. So now I choose my file to upload. I'm going to choose Brigands and Bread Knives. That's done. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of that. Go home. And we will go ahead and go to the library. And you can see here it's Wi-Fi transfer. And what I generally like to do is copy the book. And then go ahead and paste the book. And bam, there the book is. So I can open the book up, and there it is. And then what I would like to do is just go back in here. And this one, I just like to delete it because I don't know where it is in this Wi-Fi transfer folder. Once again, there's not a lot of documentation where there's no real documentation. And so it could be in the cloud. It could be anywhere. So just for me, I go ahead and delete the one there. Cool. So that's how the Wi-Fi transfer works. So let me go back to the home page. So taking a look at the library section, I'm going to go ahead and pull up Favorite Fables. Looking at this, you can kind of see that the background is dark. If I was using this device, and when I'm using this device, I will probably always keep the backlight on. To me, this is about the darkness of a color e-ink device, and that's kind of a shame considering that most black and white devices out there have better screens and brighter screens than color e-ink devices, but what you gonna do? This definitely seems a little dark to me. At least one nice thing is when you do light it, they give you that you can choose day. They have a night setting and a day setting, so you can kind of put your settings as to what you like to have it on during the day and what you like to have it on during the night. So that's nice. My night setting that's my night setting. And let me show you my day setting. And you can see my day setting is a little bit darker. You have your fonts. Changes in the layout of the reading interface will affect the display of handwriting. It is recommended to set the book layout before handwriting operations. So I guess that what that means is that when you use handwriting on here, you should already have the font set to what works for you, because if you change it, it'll change the formatting of the handwriting. And you can pick your font size. You can pick a specific used font specified in the book, or you can pick specific fonts. When you first do this, it'll ask you if you wanted to download fonts, and you just put yes, and it'll download a bunch of fonts. And like I said, this is box standard stuff. Your contrast, your vertical arrangement. I actually find that their built-in ebook reader actually looks pretty nice. Aside from the screen, aside from the grayness of the screen, the ebook reader itself looks pretty nice. So I'm fine with that. And to get out, bada bing. Also, another cool thing is if you hold on a book, you get some stats, how long you've been reading, your current progress, how many bookmarks you have. So that's really nice. I really like how it shows you that. But once again, at least in my opinion, if you're getting a e-ink Android device, you're probably not getting it to use the stock e-reader that's on here. You're getting it because you want to be ecosystem free and you want to use a whole bunch of different reading apps on this device, so you don't have to buy the e-reader that goes with Amazon, or the e-reader for Kobo, or the e-reader for Pocketbook, those kind of things, or at Barnes and Nobles. So the next thing I'll do is I'll take a look at, this is the notes section. Let's test out the pen real quick. All right, let's see if, oh, that's cool. Okay, so notice I turned the pen on, and so now it notices the pen. And I'm going to create a new note. And I'm going to go just with plain old white paper. And hit create. And let's see. All right. Let's see if I can make it a little bit darker. I don't feel a ton of lag. It's perfectly fine. Once again, I'm not a big note taker. There are people who are going to be experts on those things, but it seems to give you some decent choices. You have some pen choices. You have your eraser. All right. So let me see. I was scratching. Let's see if you can circle something. Nope, you got to scratch over it. There you go. It has shapes. It has fill-in. So this seems perfectly fine, perfectly adequate. The pen absolutely works well. Let me get out of here. The pen absolutely works well. Just trying to see if you hold it. There you go. If you hold it, then you can do line width. So yeah, this could be a nice note taker if that's something you wanted to do or something you were into. All right, I'm gonna take the pen and put it to the side. All right, let's now check out. This is the file manager. So it works like any other file manager at work. This is where all your programs are going to be. I have put on the ones I use, which are Pocketbook, Barnes & Nobles, and Kindle. I still have some books in Barnes & Noble, so I do actually still use the app to try and finish off those books. I don't use it that much, but I always like to have it on a device. So just kind of quickly, one nice thing, one of my big gripes about e-ink e-readers is that there's so much tweaking to get each app to work its best way with the e-ink technology, because every app treats it differently. It's not like an LCD where the experience is consistent. Every app is a little bit different and you have to constantly tweak it. But one nice thing is you can actually tweak it per app by holding on an app and going to optimization. And you can pick your settings and they just are for that app. So that's really nice. So let me go ahead and open up my Pocketbook app. And let me go to open up David Morrell First Blood. This is a device that absolutely positively needs the background light to be on. And I will actually turn it up a little bit higher for this video. There you go. All right. Let's get out of here. And we will go back to apps. And now let's take a look at Kindle. And on Kindle, I'm currently reading The Poppy War. Another thing that you have to get used to when you're using e-ink e-readers is the e-reader is only going to be as good as the app that you're using. So what I mean by that is the Kindle app on iOS is awesome. The Kindle app on Android is okay. And when I say that, I mean that when I want to change the font size, there's just not a ton of variety to do it. It's either this big font or too small. There's no in between. So that was kind of a drag. But still, it works fine. Once again, not the smoothest, but it definitely works fine. It definitely gets the job done. I'm definitely going to read this whole book because my hope is with this device, I will be able to do a battery life challenge for it. So I'll probably end up reading around anywhere from 3 to 5 books on it, but to see what the battery life is like. And then once I get out of here, you can kind of take a look. Now, once again, I have the contrast a little bit high. For universal changes, you can go here. Yeah, that's a little bit better. So this is for universal changes. You can do that. I haven't had customized the Kindle app yet. So this is what it is with normal contrast. Once again, especially with the backlight on, it looks fine. Then you have your settings and device information, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, desktop settings. So what they call desktop is basically the main screen. So card bar style settings. So card bar style settings is basically what you see on the home screen. So I have calendar, note, recently read, notepad, application, images. These are things that you can put on your home screen. Power management, wallpaper settings, standby wallpaper, and your shutdown wallpaper. So I have the picture wallpaper. You can choose clock, calendar, transparent wallpaper, or schedule wallpaper. So you cannot change it to the book that you were currently reading in their library section. That would be nice if you could, but select picture, the default picture. Copy the custom image to the wallpaper folder in the root directory. So you can add your own wallpaper. You just have to put it in the wallpaper folder in the root directory. Font settings, gesture settings, date and time, password management, account management. Now, one nice thing with this is when I went onto this device, I did not have to put in my Google password and log into Google, but I did have to put in my Google password and log in when I opened up the Play Store. So when I say it's a nice thing, this does not automatically download your apps and stuff like that. What'll happen is it'll just be stock. And then when you go into the Play Store and you put in your Google login ID, it'll then ask you what apps you wanted to download. Do you want it to, which of the apps that you wanted to download that you got from the Google Play Store, and you can kind of choose which apps you want to download and which apps you don't. And then system update, contact us. That's probably going to be pretty useless considering I found no support for this device. I'm assuming that the contact us will probably send an email to somebody who will never get back to you. So let's go back to the home and let's take a quick look at the Google Play Store. Now the Google Play Store is hard-coded to be in its fastest refresh mode, which is good because, you're going to be scrolling and looking at apps and moving stuff a lot. And I don't know if I may have neglected to do this, but this is how you choose your modes. You go to settings at the bottom right here. There's a system settings that's on the right when you go to your home page, and this is an e-ink center basically. So you can choose your refresh rates, top speed. Regal is the one that's the slowest and gives the best resolution for viewing for reading. And then for display, you can tweak your contrast if you want to. Go back home. All right, back home again. So this is the overview of the Meebook M8. This is Ofori, the digital reader, and keep reading.